yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron. I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously? Like, thanks, man.
Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground?
Crazy. And for the fans at home,
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin. I am joined by the man that brings this up, but also it is a valid point. The 2016 Warriors, pre-KD, they lost in the championship, but dominant regular season team.
Extremely. And they ended up winning 73 games, went 73-9. Both, as we're recording this, the Thunder and the Cavs have now lost 9 games. So both teams would have to go undefeated to tie the Warriors. And Kevin, the real question is, will we see a team lose single-digit losses again? And I'd say the next 30 years, I think, because it took 20 years. We'll go 20 years because it took the Warriors 20 years to match the 95-96 Bulls that went 72-10. So it took 20 years there. Will we see in the next 20, 25 years, or is this kind of like an impossible record to tie?
I'm going to say yes. We will see another team in the next 20, 25 years, or is it just 20?
We'll go 20 years from now. It'll be really 25 because we'll go till 2040-ish or 2045. Will there be another one? Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know because you have to be it. What's crazy about the Warriors is that I think and I'll look up the stat eventually to correct myself right now, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of their 9 losses were against teams that didn't make the playoffs. Against playoff teams, they had a significantly better record than the team that didn't make the playoffs, which I find really funny. But you have to be so much better than your competition. You have to be consistent. You have to have no injuries. They had an MVP level player, but the crazy part is they only really had. I mean, I know Draymond's making All-Star games, and so is Clay, but those aren't. I mean, Draymond's winning Defensive Player of the Years as well, but I don't think people would categorize either Clay or Draymond as superstar talents. It would just be Stephen Curry, who is still coming into his own, or into his peak. That was definitely his best season, was 15-16. But it has to be a perfect conglomerate of things to happen for you to win 73 games.
Yeah, and to me, the reason I say yes is you talk about Klay Thompson, Draymond. Of course, you have the culture, which I think is like they were just a great team, and I think a lot of that was from Kerr, but also I do think of it as a roster standpoint of it was great drafting because you draft Curry, you draft Thompson, you draft Draymond, and then they form guys around. This is when they had Iguodala as well. So I view this as in 20 years, someone's going to figure out the ways to beat, I want to say, the salary cap or just beat the system. Beat by the system in the NBA is placed to where you can't lose your stars. Or
the only way to do that is through the draft, Kevin, because there's obviously like bird rights, right, where you can spend over the luxury tax or cap if it's to re-sign someone you've drafted or to re-sign someone in general. But like you could give, like for example, the Thunder could give Jalen Williams a massive contract, and while they're still going to have to pay the massive contract, they're able to do it. They can't go out and get anyone, but they could do it. And I remember in 2K22, I know we're going to video games here, but I took over the Thunder because remember I've said this before. I said this at the beginning of the decade that the Thunder would win the most championships in the 2020s. And it's looking okay. It's looking decent right now. We'll see how that ends up shaking out. But I ended up just drafting with all the draft picks that the Thunder have, really good guys, and then I just keep the same team like every year. And they get a massive like 40, 50, 60 million dollar contract, but I'd be able to pay it just through bird rights. And that's all that to say is that to get a team that's 73-9, I feel like you would have to draft exceptionally well. You can't build a team like the Suns are currently building a team and win 73 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, you do have the draft, but I also think there's going to be something to where they figure out development. It's always a key change. Like I view it as a GM going, okay, you do have Sam Presti trading for first round picks, but I can also see a GM who's with a competitive team and he's like, okay, I have first and a second. What about undrafted free agents? And then he finds a way to develop guys and get them better because he'll pay his stars, which he would be drafted to save money as well. But I just view there's going to be a GM that's going to find a great coach and build a great roster because this is just, I would say that 2016 team was a perfect team as well. You had the star player, but you also had guys that could go off with Klay Thompson and just great defenders with Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. And then their center was Andrew Bogut. Andrew Bogut was their center. There are going to be ways to where they beat the system. And I see that happening in 20 years. But I don't think it's going to be common. I think it's going to be, look at this amazing team, this legendary team that's doing this for the first time since the 2016 Warriors.
How long do you think it'll be until we see one then? If you think it's going to happen next 20, 25 years, when is that going to happen? Like, give it recent range. Do you think it's the
18.
next? Okay, well, that's a little bit more specific than I necessarily said. But you think it's going to be towards the later half of that?
Yeah.
You don't think we're close?
No. Maybe the Thunder can do it, but I view it as an executive who moves up and is growing up, is working in this era of figuring out, okay, so how do they do this? This is how they do it. And then they figure it out. And then when it's close to 20 years, it happens. But I do think it happens in 20 years. I don't see it happening in the next 10.
You don't see it happening in the next 10. Okay.
Next 10.
I think I'm going to agree with you. Next 10, I don't think there'll be one. And if it will happen, it will be the Thunder. I don't even think the Cavs could do it. It would be the Thunder. It'd have to be the Thunder. Because, again, of how many draft picks they have. But I think we're in a state of parity, I think, in the NBA. Right now, there's a lot of teams around the same record on both conferences. I know the East is definitely still worse than the West. But there's a lot of teams around above 500. It's really those bottom, 5 teams that are way, way worse than everybody else, which is kind of bolstering the records of everyone else above them. But I think once we get out of a state of parity just a little bit, that's when you really will be able to see it because they're able to beat and dominate teams that are noticeably worse than them.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's really tough. And there are some teams where they're just going to beat you because they have those superstars. And sometimes you're going to have off nights as well. But we'll have to see. But it's going to be really tough. I am excited to see if that happens or when it happens. But that team was great. I'll let you close this one out.
Thank you guys for listening. Please let us know if you think there'll be another season with single-digit losses and who will do it and when will it happen.